Welcome back to the program. In this segment, what I want to do is two things. Number one, I want to destroy this lie from the left, from the media, from a lot of other people, including, quote, scholars and constitutional experts that say that the drug boats were somehow illegal and unconstitutional, and the extraction of Maduro was somehow a violation of the War Powers Act. I'm going to destroy both of those false narratives right now. Okay? The Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act of 1986 was part of a larger, bipartisan, important bill called the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986, which passed with overwhelming support from both Democrats and Republicans in both chambers of Congress. Specific roll call numbers for individual Democrats are not available. However, the majority of the entire Senate and the entire House voted for this bill. And it kind of broke down like this. House of Representatives approved it by a vote of 378 to 16. And then the Senate passed it 83 to 4. So obviously it was bipartisan. And what it was the Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act of 1986 was inserted into a much larger bill known as, again, the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. I want to make sure that everybody understands all of this. Now, here's what's interesting. It had 301 co-sponsors, including Chuck Schumer, okay? And a lot of other Democrats. Many of them have already retired because it was a long time ago. But this whole notion that somehow Democrats were never in favor and giving legal authority to the government to wipe out these drug cartel boats is asinine. It's ridiculous because clearly the provisions are here and it is lawful and it is constitutional because it went through Congress. So these Democrats that don't know their history, that don't bother to look up what, I don't know, other past Senates and past Houses did years ago, maybe they would have saw it. But no, it's not about that. It's because Trump did it, right? It has to be illegal. It has to be unethical. It has to be evil because Trump did it. Well, all the rest of these wimps never did it. No, instead, what did they do? They looked the other way. They allowed the drug cartels to get larger and more powerful and spread their influence all throughout South America and Central America and, of course, Mexico and all these other cartels that are around, right? Did they do anything to stop it? No, they didn't. As a matter of fact, they're all talk and no action. How do we know that? Well, pretty simple. They named it, the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. Last I checked, we still have a drug abuse problem. And it obviously has been since 1986 and even before that. So once again, they're all talk, no action, and then they're deceitful, and then they tell the media that these are our talking points for the week. So then you need to go out there as prostitutes for us and say that these drug boat hits are somehow illegal and unethical and unconstitutional. Total garbage. Okay? There. That's number one. Number two, the War Powers Act. So, let me explain what the War Powers Act is. The War Powers Act, Resolution of 1973, is a U.S. law limiting the president's ability to commit troops to an armed conflict without congressional approval. Okay. Did we actually commit troops? Not really, because they're not staying there. They went in, they extracted him, and they left. So that's not what you would consider, quote, boots on the ground, as they like to say. Okay? And by the way, they did the same exact thing when they grabbed the oil tankers They did the same exact thing when they got the drug boats, right? So what's the difference? There isn't a difference. It's a talking point for the left to try to say that President Trump is doing something wrong and illegal. But I'll continue. Excuse me. Then it says, the president must report to Congress within 48 hours of introducing armed forces into hostilities. Presidents should consult, should, not must, should, consult with Congress before and during any such deployments. Term limit. Forces must be withdrawn within 60 days with a possible 30-day extension for safe withdrawal. Okay? So what does this mean? It means that as President of the United States, and not just President Trump, any president for that matter, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, you are allowed to do what you think is necessary to protect the American people in a limited scope, in a short amount of time, without congressional approval. It's called the War Powers Act. It's been around since 1973. It was a result of the Vietnam War. Okay? Now that you know that, what he did was a extraction of a most wanted narco terrorist, which was a law enforcement. Okay? It was law enforcement. This was nothing that had to do with anything other than a law enforcement operation. Now, has other presidents done this, or is just only Trump, right? Just Trump. He's the evil one. He's Hitler. He's Mussolini. It's just him, no one else, right? Harry Truman ordered U.S. troops into the Korean War, 1950 to 1953, without congressional approval. Lyndon Baines Johnson, after the Tonkin Gulf resolution, he basically committed troops as well, but he also lied, because let's not forget what he said when they asked him, are you going to send American troops into Vietnam? He said, I am not going to send American boys halfway around the world to do a job that Asian boys ought to be doing for themselves. That's my best LBJ. So, again, he committed troops too. Okay? And then, of course, you have, I'm not a crook. Richard Nixon conducted secret bombings and an invasion of Cambodia without congressional knowledge and or approval, which was a primary catalyst for Congress passing the War Powers Resolution over his veto in 1973. Ronald Reagan directed the invasion of Panama in 1989 to oust Manuel Noriega, an action many considered a violation of the act. Bill Clinton used military force in Iraq, in Haiti, in Bosnia, and Kosovo without getting congressional authorization. George W. Bush launched the Afghanistan and Iraq wars without congressional authorization. And even Barack Obama initiated military action, including airstrikes in Libya in 2011, without seeking congressional authorization. So all you experts out there, you congressional morons, you media pundits that think you have a brain cell in your head and think that what he did was an act of war or War Powers Act, it shows how stupid you are, okay? And quite frankly, it shows that you really don't need to know anything to be a member of Congress. You just need money, a nice suit, and a fast-talking way about you. And charisma. That's it. Because you obviously don't have a historical context. You obviously don't know anything. And it's proven. And I just proved it to you. And I'm not in Congress. Okay? So there. So that was that. And honestly, all of these actions, including extracting Maduro, were absolutely 100% legal. And they were constitutional. Now, there's a lot of rumblings that he's in New York and that some left-wing judge who hates Trump got a hold of the case, okay? I've heard about it. I've read about it. I'm not that concerned, okay? And I'll tell you the reasons why. Number one, if you can show bias from the judge, and you can ask for the judge to recuse themselves. And if they don't, you can file a motion to remove the judge at an appeals court. So that's an option, obviously. But the other thing is this. This was an indictment not under Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and all that. No, this was done by Bill Barr, and it was done years ago. Many, many years ago. So 2020. So I guess it was under Biden or the auto pen. And Bill Barr was the one that actually indicted and did all that when he was Attorney General. So I don't know. Was he Attorney General? He wasn't Attorney General, I don't think, in 2020, right? No, I don't think he was. Or maybe at the very end. I don't know. Maybe it was Trump's term. Whatever. It was right around there. All I know that. So it wasn't Pam Bondi. It wasn't this Department of Justice. This was an indictment in the Southern District of New York by Bill Barr, that's a fact, in 2020. So we had no choice but to do that. Now, here's the other thing that can happen. Keeping him in New York and hopefully interrogating him, now we can find out about elections. What did Venezuela know? Who did what? That's the best part about this. His capture is going to help elections moving forward in America because you have now eliminated a huge obstacle to free and fair elections, which is the Venezuelan regime. Votes were counted. I covered it in 2020, 2019 when I was thrown off of everything. Votes were counted in Venezuela. You had Smartmatic, SGO, Seidel, all of those companies. They were run by people that were close to George Soros and Venezuela. The guy that they captured that's been singing like a canary before all this happened is saying that Venezuela were the ones that stole the election. Venezuela's leader, Maduro, is not legitimate because he stole his power. Okay? So all of this is a byproduct of what President Trump did. And it's amazing. It's incredible. And in the end, he's going to be convicted. Okay? And I'll give you reasons why. Number one, they have him dead to rights. They have all the documentation. They have all the flights. They have all the boats. They have everything. They've been watching this guy for years. And not just this FBI and CIA. We're even talking the auto pen watching him for all those years as well. So they have him dead to rights. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, right, from 9/11, he was convicted. So many other people were convicted. He is a head of state and he's a narco-terrorist. And they can prove that the money and everything went through him. So I'm not worried about whatever judge it might be. He's going to be convicted. Okay? So anyway, that's what I wanted to cover on that one. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.